Everyone, welcome to another edition of Agri Business Now. I am Nakita Samuel, and on this evening's program, we have for you information on the Soil Fertility Mapping Project, and the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture hosts a GAP workshop. We also have the How to Do segment along with the news and announcements. Don't go away, Agri Business Now will be right back.
Did you know that the IICA's Agriculture Competitiveness Project, otherwise known as AgriCom project, has been officially launched?
Well, it was. And the project aims at enhancing access to markets and sales for competitively selected farmers and fisher folks.
But to access funds, you must be part of a productive alliance.
So what is a productive alliance, you ask? It's a business arrangement between farmers and or fisher folks on one hand, and on the other hand, aggregators. Aggregators can be cooperatives, lead farmers, or marketers and agro-processors.
The project provides matching grants to a productive alliance. A minimum of 10 farmers or fishers and an aggregator, such as a lead farmer, a cooperative, marketer, or an agro-processor.
Farmers and fisher folk in Productive Alliance can receive up to $8,000, while the aggregator, lead farmer or fisher, cooperative, marketer, or agro-processor can receive up to $120,000. For more information, please contact Ministry of Agriculture, Richmond Hill at 456-1410 or 456-1111, extension 311 or 321, or email agricomsvg@mail.gov.vc.
Thank you for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, you're watching Agribusiness Now. Executed over a period of 12 years, the National Economical and Social Development Plan aims to revitalize the agricultural sector through appropriate investments in capacity building, extension, technology, and research. St. Vincent's agricultural sector is focused on achieving a significant level of food and nutrition security and economic growth while coping with droughts and conserving and protecting natural resources. In the light of this, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with cooperation from the Kingdom of Morocco, has embarked on the Soil Fertility Mapping Project here, which began in 2016. Here this evening to give an overview of the project is Deputy Chief Agricultural Officer, Mr. Renato Gums.
What this project actually entails is this testing of soils throughout the country. What we are doing, we are actually testing the soils excluding the forest areas for now, because we want to cover those areas that are under cultivation. So we are focusing more on those for now. So what we do, we divide the country into what we call grids. When we divided the country, we ended up with about 1,200 grids. And in each grid, we are taking a soil sample. Now, why we develop these grids is that we want to get proper coverage, first of all. And secondly, we wanted to geo-reference the points so that when we take a sample in an area, test it, we can go back to that exact area and know where we actually did the test because it is geo-referenced. So that is one of the major things about the project. The country is divided into 3 regions, right? So we're trying to cover the 3 regions. What has happened to accelerate the process and to get a more uniform, that we can get some results that we can work with, we decided to concentrate on one region. So basically we completed region 2, and we know region 2 includes Mespo, Dorsetshire Hill, Green Hill. Region 2 really runs from Peruvian Vale right up to Lowman's Leeward, right? So we basically covered that area, and we are also now into the other regions. We are basically about half in each of the other regions. So once we cover that, we are presently now preparing the samples for testing. Now, once we have tested these soil samples, we are able to, one, determine the fertility status at each place, and secondly, make recommendation on adjustment. You know, you always hear the common saying that soils in St. Vincent are so fertile anything can be grown. It's true to some extent. They have the good physical characteristics, right? One of the best, but the chemical properties sometimes are not always there. So you find sometimes certain nutrients lacking. One of the key nutrients I find lacking in St. Vincent, very common, is phosphorus. So that is why it's so important for we to carry the soil analysis. When we finish our testing now, we're going to develop a web-based system where anyone can go on the system, find a location. One, you bring up the fertility status. See how fertile that area is, what are the properties, and what is recommended. But the recommendation, the added thing to this project is that you can put in a crop on the web-based system and it will tell you how to fertilize that crop. And that is the key about the project. So once we are completed, it will be open system where anyone could go on it. But we would emphasize training farmers how to use it. We'd first train the officers how to use it and then train the farmers how to use it. And I think they will derive maximum benefit from using it.
Mr. Gums gave some benefits of having this project and words of encouragement.
What I would like to say to persons is to grant access, because sometimes when they're testing, you have to go on somebody's land, they're not around. So if we have to make people aware and that we are conducting this program, and if you see them come to your place, don't chase them or don't think they're doing anything illegal or wrong. It's just to provide more information to the farming community. So I urge farmers to give them the kind of support needed to get the project done, and I hope we try to get done on time, and then we will make the information available to the same farmers, and we will train them, we will guide them, and we would work with them trying to improve the productivity from there onwards.
The communications unit within the Ministry of Agriculture went out with a team from the Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit on a soil sample collection exercise. The team, which included Mr. Michael Delplesh, gave us an idea of a regular day collecting the samples.
I'm Michael Delplesh, Head of Plant Protection and Quarantine Unit in the Ministry of Agriculture. And with me today is Mr. Hayden Johnson, one of our officers. Today we are in the Beira Valley. The way we go about this, we have divided the island of St. Vincent into several grids. These grids are 100 meters apart from each other. And so we take soil samples at 100 meters distance. And each grid is comprised of 15 sampling points, and we are only taking 10 points in each grid. Now we are taking soil samples at two depths, firstly between 0 and 20 centimeters, and then we go down to 40 centimeters. These are two separate samples, so at each sampling point we are taking two samples at these different depths. Now when we sample from the 10 grids at 20 centimeter depth, we are going to combine the 10 samples that we collect from that particular grid and make it into one sample. So we have one composite sample between 0 and 20 centimeters and another composite sample for that same grid between 20 and 40 centimeters. We are using a GPS unit to help us locate the points, and we try to get as close as possible to the points that are on the GPS. We have also a soil auger that we will use to take the samples, and this soil auger is divided into 10 centimeter segments. So we go down to the particular depth and we take our samples there. Also, we have buckets that we take with us, so that as we sample, we place the soil into the buckets and we mix the sample, and then we take a portion of that soil from each point that we are sampling, and we place in a plastic bag. Having done that, we take the soil back to the lab at Camden Park, where the soil is dried, and after it's dried, we sift the soil, and then we prepare it for testing. Now, the testing would not be done here in St. Vincent because of the volume of work that is to be done and the short period in which we have to complete this work. Presently, we have completed over 400 and about 50 grids, and we still have quite a bit of grids to complete. We still have between Congo Valley and down to Cedars up to Greg's, so that entire area there we still have to cover, and a portion also beyond Sandy Bay going north. And so we would not have the time to test all of these samples because the project should be completed by December this year, and we want to ensure that we have this aspect of the project completed because we think that it is very crucial for the country to have this information. Okay, so right now we are still 2 meters east from the point, so we're trying to locate it, so it's telling us 0. So this point is located right here, which incidentally is in the road, so we cannot sample at this point. So what we will do is just to move up to the bank here where you have farmlands, and we would take our sample at a convenient point. It's 10 meters away from the actual point, but it would not really make much of a difference in that you expect the soil in this general area to be quite similar. Alright, so we'll go right down to the 20 centimeter, which would be at this point on the soil agar. Sometimes it's difficult to take all of it. So we normally would take off the first portion of the soil, and then we'll place it into the bucket. Yeah, so we'll complete the 20 centimeters. Okay, so we are there. Having done that, we'll take our 40 centimeters. So now we are going down to this depth. Again, it's usually very difficult to take it in one shot, so we normally, to make it easier, take more than one probe, and we'll go again until we get down to the 40 centimeter. Some soils are soft, so you're able to take it all in one probe, but in this case we took it twice. Okay, having put the soil in the bucket, we mix the soil, and we'll take a small portion of it. We want to collect approximately at least 1 pound of soil so that we can take to the lab. So this is from our first 20 centimeters, and so we will place at the next point the 20 centimeters portion in this same bag, and all 10 would go into this. Likewise, we will take a sample again from the 20 to 40 centimeter portion. We mix it properly and we take a sample. Alright, so that's it. So we make sure that we label our bags at this time, 20 centimeters and 40 centimeters. We will move on now to the next point. So I will go to my GPS and I will locate the next point This one is 177, so we would go up to 176. So I just move around my cursor until I locate 176. So it's telling me that 176, KK 176, is 99 meters west of where we are presently. We have just completed our first grid for today. Took us about 2.5 hours. The terrain was somewhat challenging, but we made it. As you can see, it's a very physically demanding exercise, and we have gotten all 10 points in this particular grid, and we would see how well we do with our next grid.
On Wednesday, 14th August 2019, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture hosted a workshop at the Foreign Affairs Conference Room to support improved market linkages for farmers through strengthening and improving the applications of good agricultural practices and good manufacturing practices. Wilbert Jack of the Communications Unit has the details.
With a mandate to support the efforts of its member states and develop their agricultural and rural communities through technical cooperation and assistance to the countries from Canada in the north to Argentina in the south, along with 14 member countries in the Caribbean, the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, IICA, in collaboration with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Bureau of Standards, hosted a two-day workshop on good agricultural practices on Wednesday, August 10, 2019 at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs conference facility and culminated with a field trip to a model farm located in Brighton Road, Canaan, which is cultivated by Gideon Gilbert. The workshop was facilitated by regional specialists Keith Coppell and Franklin McGlaw. Speaking at the opening ceremony, IICA technical specialist Michael Dalton gave an overview on the activities of the workshop and expressed thanks to those involved in the information sharing and knowledge imparting processes.
This workshop is intended to provide an understanding of the key role of good agricultural practices auditing in improving farm operations and ensuring the safety and quality of food produce. It will demonstrate the need to regularly assess farm management systems and practices to measure performance. Secondly, it is to give us a good appreciation of gaps and how it can be applied to enhance food safety and quality issues, and also to describe the general principles of gap auditing and apply the methodology for conducting an audit, to give us an overview of global gap certification system and apply the relevant aspects in our auditing processes as we get into that, for us to understand the activities, responsibilities, and characteristics of a gap auditor, and for us to conduct effective planning and preparation for a gap audit. And finally, to carry out an audit and gather objective evidence through observation, interview, and sampling of documents and records. We know gap training has taken place here and in other countries before, but this is the beginning of a process here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to systematize our interventions such that we develop capacity now and not have it lying around. but to be part of a comprehensive process to build a certification system. And in doing so, to work in concert with the efforts and experiences of our counterparts in the sub-region to collectively enhance this capacity. Because at the end of the day, the development of these systems are expensive and I believe require collective efforts in the sub-region if they are to be sustained. And we must find ways and means to collaborate to further achieve our collective ends in regards to this issue. I wish to thank the Ministry of Agriculture and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Bureau of Standards for assisting our delegation here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in hosting this activity. I wish to also thank here now my colleague from Dominica, from the IICA office in Dominica, Mr. Ken Coppell, for the facilitation that he has done of the engagements we have had over the last 2 days. And I wish to thank Mr. Franklin McGlow for his engagement also for those 2 days and for the work he is about to do in facilitating the activity today. And also Norman Alexander, who came in yesterday as well and engaged with us.
In his brief remarks, Director of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Bureau of Standards, Ezra Ledger, told the participants about the role his office plays in the establishment and operating of a national certification system for St. Vincent and the Grenadines relative to food and food products.
This specific training in good agricultural practices, normally called GAP, is a vital part of the food system, as we all need to ensure that we substantially cover all areas of the food chain from farm to table. As you may be aware, the St. Vincent and Grenadines Bureau Standard is in the process of establishing a credible certification system to cover all aspects of the food and agricultural industry. This endeavor has been officially launched by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Sabota Caesar, in June of 2019. Subsequently, the Ministry of Agriculture has established and recommended the setting up of an advisory committee with officials from both the private and public sector to lead this very process. We have seen an increase in the development in globalization and free trade, and with trade facilitation such as the World Trade Organization agreements, it underscores the significance of the conformity assessment and specifically certification in global trade and its potential to act as a tool for trade facilitation and market access. It is also signal the need for food and food products to comply with the applicable standards and quality requirements for safety, quality, fitness for use, and for other social and environmental concerns. Globalization of trade has squarely put the spotlight on the conformity assessment and certification of products and services as important measures for product entry into importing countries. The onus is therefore on all stakeholders, the government, the private sector, the consumer, to play their part concertedly in this process to ensure that we can successfully achieve the standards and quality characteristics to compete fairly and effectively in the various markets, including, of course, our domestic market. Significantly, this training activity is one of the several interventions that will be carried out to build the capacity of the certification system in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Accordingly, we are thankful to the IICA by our very there and always committed technical specialist, Mr. Dalton, for coming to our assistance for this initial step in the establishment of an effective certification system. Additionally, we are happy to have with us today some of our Caribbean colleagues to provide the requisite guidance and facilitation during this workshop. Finally, it is my hope that this training will promote among participants a clear understanding for implementing the good agricultural practices in a framework of integrated production with a food chain approach to ensure quality and safety of fresh agricultural produce and other agri-products. I'm confident that once implemented properly, the certification system will contribute to the improvement of the quality of life for all Vincentians, and of course on a whole to our Caribbean civilization, which of course is one of the promise of the CSME.
On today's How to Do, we're going to show you how to obtain cassava cuttings for replantation.
In the micropropagating of cassava, there are a few steps which one should follow in order to be successful. there are sticks where the nodes are close together, and towards the top end of the stick, the nodes get longer as they transition onto the semi-hard portion. First, in the hard area of the stick, the cuttings are done at every 2 or 3 nodes. As you get closer to the semi-hard portion, the cuttings should be made longer. Now let's compare the size of the cuttings of a stick that would be normally used by farmers to the one that is being introduced in the micropropagation process. You will notice that you are now able to make 4 mini sets from a stick that used to be just 1 piece. Normally, a farmer will not use a young stem like this one, but using the micropropagation system, you can practically use all of the plant. A handsaw can also be used to make the cuttings using the same measurements and concepts, but while using the saw, one should make sure that the cuts are clean and that the bark of the stick is not bruised or damaged in any way. After cutting the sticks, the next step is sanitization. You should use a copper-based fungicide here, such as Rizolex, with a ratio of 2 tablespoons to 1 gallon of water. Soak the cuttings in the mixture for 5 minutes, then place on a raised surface or bed to drain. Plant into trays or humidity bins depending on the diameter of the cuttings. If seedling trays are used, place softer cuttings in an upright position and press into the mixture of 2 parts soil, 1 part sand, and 1 part pen manure. Be sure not to put the cuttings upside down. This is what a completed seedling tray of 50 sets should look like. The tray should be placed in an area that is out of direct sunlight. It should start sprouting within 7 days and should be ready for replanting within 2 weeks. Humidity bins can also be used to set the cuttings. These bins are enclosed with plastic and Rabaca sand is used for planting. If you're using humidity bins, place the cuttings in the sand as you would with the trays and leave them for up to 3 weeks, after which they can be replanted in the field.
Here are the news and announcements.
Cattle farmers from Fancy to Peruvian Vale who are interested in commercial cattle production are asked to contact the Newgrounds Agricultural Station at 4511683. That's 4511683.
Persons farming in the North Windward area, please be informed registration for Farmers ID would take place on 27th August 2019 in Sandy Bay at the Sandy Bay Primary School from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. On 29th August 2019 in Owe at Susan Williams' shop from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Persons registering for Farmers ID must bring along their national identification card or passport, Vincent, the deed if the land belongs to you or permission letter for granted use of the land, rent or lease agreement and or a recent receipt. Please note, this goes for both persons registering for the first time and persons who are previous card holders. Registration would not be conducted at the Kingston office nor the Newgrounds Agricultural Station on these dates.
We are at the end of another Agri Business Now program, but we'll be here again next week Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. with another interesting one. For more information, feel free to contact us at the Communications Unit within the Ministry of Agriculture at 456-1111, extension 312 or 472, or email us at citumaf2@hotmail.com. Remember, you can view more of Agri Business Now programs on our YouTube channel, Agri Business Now St. Vincent, or like our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/agribusinessnow to get more updates. Until next time, I am your host, Nakita Samuel. Thank you for viewing and do have yourself a wonderful night.